Welcome back to Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. We find ourselves in Madame Lou Graham's sporting house. However, the situation is not quite as nice as people who usually find themselves in Madame Lou's.
I'm gonna die.
Shh, spoilers. So, we are up on the second floor. Julian Benavides and Dr. Lucius Jensen have just come down and shared information with the always knowledgeable Sofie Ingesdottir. They have devised that based on everything they've seen, they are currently going to be confronting the Mara, or the Mayor. However, this knowledge was cut short by hearing the growling of Yorts out in the hall. Racing to make sure the cat was okay because, of course, top priority. Obviously.
And the sneezing. Don't forget the sneezing.
And the sneezing. They suddenly found something unusual in the hallway. The velvet-draped walls were bulging and twisting. The furniture was suddenly rocking back and forth. The floorboards were coming up. And out of all of them poured rats. Dozens and dozens of rats, all with urine yellow eyes, and all incredibly hyper-focused on you. Aaron, based on your face, I do want to add, not a normal color of rat eyes.
I was gonna say, I don't mind rodents, but urine-colored eyes, I don't like it. I don't like it.
There is a wave of these rodents that are suddenly skittering, rushing towards all of you.
This is fine. That's fine.
Oh, I'm so glad.
We're fine.
You have only a half second to react to this.
I'm pretty sure nothing is fine for Julian at this specific point in time.
That is correct. The way that these rats are looking at you, they are looking at you with intent. They are focused on you in a way that animals are not. They are processing things about you that rats would not be. And then after that single moment of crystallized time, they are on you. These rats are jumping on you. There are rats coming out of the ceiling and falling on you. It is like a tide.
Can we just leave? Madame Lou, I am not feeling this place. I really...
After thorough consideration, the library has departed. Goodbye. Peace.
Sophie's already at the front door. You must gather your party before venturing forth.
All right, so I'm going to need two things from everybody. The first, probably not a surprise based on the faces that I saw from the description you just got, I'm going to need a fear test.
Cool.
Now,
cool.
This is either empathy or... Logic, thank you. And I do have some good news. You each get a +2 bonus because your allies are close together.
Okay.
So Julian has 1 success on 5 dice.
Sofie has 1 success on 8 dice.
Lucius has 1 success on 7 dice.
There you go. See, none of you are afraid of rats. How bad could rats be? Now, that second thing that I needed. You are all able to hold your shit together during this. Even Julian.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I've got plenty more for you. I need all of you to make either an agility or a force test.
Oh, great.
Cool, cool. I have 0s in those. Awesome.
Everyone's favorite skills.
That is 0 success on 3 dice for Julian's agility.
I feel like Dr. Jensen would default to force, so Dr. Lucius got 1 success on 6 dice.
Brian,
Okay.
your giddy glee is unbecoming. Just saying.
This is fine.
Disagree.
It's fine. It's fine.
Sofie got 0 successes on her 2 entire dice. Listen, her skirts are full of books, okay? It's hard to maneuver and usually she doesn't have to.
Well, there's your mistake. You went with agility. You clearly should have gone force, because once those skirts get moving, bam!
It's true.
Yeah,
I should have gone with force.
Yeah, Dr. Lucius was like, you know what? It's stomping time.
All right, so Sofie swishes her skirts and stumbles backwards as all these rats are climbing all over her or jumping off of her. Julian is kind of stumbling backwards down the hall. Lucius braces himself against the door frame and is just like kicking things out. He's pulling his coat tight against himself. However, the rats, on their roll, got 3 successes.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Come on. How can a swarm of rats be better than all of us at rolling?
Because there's many of them.
They don't get extra rolls.
We'll talk about that later on. However,
I'm getting out my physical dice. God damn it.
Well, we're off to an early start with Aaron this session.
Wow.
Nope.
Well, that did not take long at all.
Once the bullshit happens, Aaron is done with it.
Game on.
So, after only a few moments, the rats jump off of you and go...
I do have a question. There was something I was actually considering, and maybe it is too late. Would I have time to do stuff before they ran away?
What is the stuff you have in mind?
Well, I'm thinking that Julian, as an entertainer, this is not specifically in my backstory, but I feel like it's a skill he would have picked up. I'm thinking about taking that hurricane lantern that I have, taking a swig of that lamp oil and breathing fire onto this swarm of rats.
Oh my god.
Oh, Phoenix. You've given me the perfect segue. Julian immediately goes to do that, reaching back into his violin case, and discovers it's open.
Oh, for
and then
fuck's
he
sake.
hears the clang and watches a half-dozen rats dragging the hurricane lantern away. Bill, Dr. Jensen, takes a moment, catches his breath, rests his hand over his heart, and realizes something's missing. Your flask has been taken.
Those little bastards.
And here I was about to say, they've taken your heart.
Those guys.
And Sofie, you see just the flickering edges of your old scrolls going out the window. Each of you has lost a piece of equipment. And you are all left in a moment of silence as the swarm of rats disappears in the night.
Okay, so this is not a common occurrence for this city, correct? The rodents don't steal our...
Look, I know we may not have the best reputation at this place, but no, this doesn't happen here like that, Lucius.
Yeah, there goes Dr. Lucius's thought to try to help calm down Julian. Right out the window with the rats.
So, if as this happens, can I tell that Julian is, I assume I can tell that Julian is quite verklempt.
Rattled?
Frazzled.
Yeah, I think I certainly think you would be able to see it. And while my character sheet is reflecting angry and frightened, the overwhelming emotion on his face is definitely anger.
Can I use my caretaker talent to try to help him?
If you'd like to take a rest, you could.
Oh, that's how I have to do that?
Mm-hmm. So normally when you take a rest action, you play out a quick scene with another PC, and then you can remove 2 of your conditions.
The caretaker is the other person's condition.
Correct. So normally it's like you spend time talking to them and you feel better. You can spend time talking to somebody and they feel better.
Of course they do.
Hello, dear listener. Brian from the future here. I just wanted to let you know, after this scene, I actually talked with my players and we updated how this talent works. Caretaker now heals both characters when you take a rest once per mystery. This update is included in the supplement on Victoria-era medicine that I wrote, which is on Drive-Thru RPG, which you can check out absolutely for free. Link is in the show notes. All right, I'll let you get back to the show.
Like, naturally, they feel better after talking to me. Yeah, I mean, I guess we don't really have maybe we'll have an opportunity in a minute to do it, but right this second, we can't. Okay, so what, with all due respect to Madame Luz, what the fuck was that?
I don't know.
Do I know anything about, I mean, the rats wouldn't have anything to do with the, Mara, do I think?
They might. The Vossen can have unique powers, things that are not necessarily associated with each specific Vossen.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
It is entirely possible that a mare could have control over animals.
Do you guys think that we should pursue them and make sure they don't inflict any harm onto anyone in the city?
If we look out the window, like, were we able to see, I guess, where they went, or did they just kind of all scatter once outside the building?
Do you step into room 9 to check?
Oh, I thought we were in room 9. Sorry.
You were out in the hall.
Right. Well, so based on the description, you said that we tried to, like, close a door or, like, kick them out. I thought we retreated back into room 9. So that was
No, you kind of braced
mistake.
against the door frame to not get knocked over.
They went past us in the hall into room 9 and out the
okay.
window as we're standing outside the door.
Yep, correct.
Okay, then yeah, let's Dr. Lucius would go take a look to see if he can spot to where they're going, if there's any clue that way.
Can you also remind me, GM, what time of day is it right now?
It is still morning.
It is morning. Okay.
We're probably looking at this point around like 11 o'clock, getting towards lunchtime. Dr. Lucius goes to the window. Outside of it is this beautiful, elaborate flower box that is filled with dead, wilted, rotted flowers. You also are able to look at the boxes on either side on those windows, and those ones are beautiful. Overflowing with lush purple and yellow and pink flowers.
They were like that. I saw them like that earlier when I looked out, right?
Correct.
One of the.
Yep. And it looks like it's just affecting this room. Same for the flowers that were in a vase by the nightstand. You look out down out the window, and there are smaller buildings that are near this. So there's, for instance, a little carriage house that's right next to it that they park the carriages in. It looks like the rats leapt down onto the carriage house from this window and then scampered across in just a swarm and then began going off in different directions. Climbing down gutters, jumping onto other buildings, scrambling up drain pipes, each taking your things in separate directions.
I guess could I see where I figure between a flask, a group of scrolls, is that correct? And hurricane lantern. The lantern would be the largest and probably more difficult for the rats to move. Do I see where the I'm assuming a group of rats is taking that?
Correct.
No. Do I see which, like, direction?
Oh, yes. So the hurricane lantern is being dragged into a gutter off the side of the building.
Okay.
By about a half dozen rats.
Okay.
Who are all like working together to move this thing. Obviously, this is not normal behavior.
So Lucius will convey the information, like what he saw with the rats, but he'll turn to Sofie. Do the rats have any connection to this mare, Mare, this creature?
They not specifically. They don't usually, but it's possible that she's controlling them somehow. Although
she's not around right now. It's the middle of the day.
Yes, it's normally at night that they change. So, I mean, it seems unlikely that she would be in her human form, thus unaware of what's happening and still controlling the rats.
So then someone else wants us to be separated from our items, our equipment.
And can I get a learning test from each of you?
It's almost like there's a puzzle that we're meant to solve, but we're too stupid.
I wasn't saying that.
No, I was saying that.
Julian has succeeded with 100% success, getting 1 success on 1 die.
Lucius is flummoxed. Out of 6 dice, he got no successes.
You know what? Fuck that. I got 0 on 8 dice, and I want to know what the hell's going on. I'm going to push it.
You can't let Julian have this one.
I got a 5 and a 6. I got 2 successes.
All right, so you're up to 3 successes
2.
so far. Or no, 2
successes.
successes, pardon me.
So, yeah, okay, so 2 successes out of 8 dice. Fuck you, roll 20 dice.
Which mental condition are you giving yourself?
Angie.
Yep, not surprised. All right.
Yes, talking to Sofie will be so soothing now.
So
I'm just pointing this out. It's possible the whole group might need a rest soon.
So there's Dr. Lucius and the 2 grumpy Gusses.
Yeah, I just don't feel, Sofie, like people are, fuck you, suck it up, man up, man up, Julian.
And poor Dr. Jensen is like, I can heal you physically. I can't help you mentally.
I was going to give Julian a nip of my flask to actually try and help soothe his...
I mean, it would have gone great after, blowing a bunch of lamp oil out of there, just to get rid of the taste. That would have been fantastic.
But now it's gone with the rats.
Chef's kiss. Also, I want that to become a new phrase that everybody says. It's gone with the rats.
Gone with the rats.
It's the Seattle story. Gone with the rats.
Yes.
All right, so Julian knows this. Sofie definitely knows this. Many different abilities could be attributed to a given Vasen. No 2 trolls necessarily have the same magical powers.
Sure.
There will be certain powers that can be assigned and pretty reliably attributed to a Vasen, like a mare could do things like steal your breath. But each mare could have other powers as well.
Right.
Additionally, a powerful enough curse laid upon a woman could create a mare who could even do things when it wasn't in control of her, effectively operating even during the day while she's in her human form. It wouldn't be able to manifest as the mare, but it might be able to have an effect on the world.
Would we know with those tests, would we understand? So is the woman essentially possessed and doesn't know what's going on, or the woman is doing things without even realizing it?
Much more possessed.
Okay.
She is effectively a passenger when the mare is in control.
Okay.
And likely she wouldn't be like leveling curses or possessing the rats herself, but this curse of the mare is doing so without her knowledge. Also, because Sofie did crush it with 2 successes, and did get angry over this, I will give you a little bit of extra knowledge that you can share with the group. In order to get a curse of that level of strength, it wouldn't just be something basic. A major amount of sacrifice would be necessary for that. Something like the end of a human life. That would be the kind of curse that one might lay with their last breath.
Okay. So after Lucius and Sofie are like kind of discussing like how is that possible, Sofie, after saying that, will kind of stop for a minute and then look at Lucius and look over at Julian. It is possible that she's doing this, but it would take such a strong curse to be able for her to control things during the day like that. Maybe even there might have been something like a death curse or something like that turned this woman into the martyr. So maybe that gives us a clue. Maybe that helps us narrow down how and where this happened, because it would have had to have been a really serious event to create a curse this strong.
Well, so when you say death, do you mean that someone died and then, with their presumably last breath, cursed the life of whoever this person who became the mayor?
Yes, I'm looking at the GM. Yeah, so it's either it's that, or could it also have been a sacrifice of another person?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was going to say, and then I was like, I don't know if that's true. Yes, it either that is possible, or someone else could have been sacrificed in order to make this possible.
And you had found a letter in room number 9. There was the girl before Dove, Ingrid,
Yes, Ingrid.
who seemed very excited to be married, but had not told others here. Should we go talk then to Madame Lou about this
See if we
Ingrid?
can find her, and either find her and find out if, I mean, she could be the martyr, or she could be the one who placed it. I mean, if she was jealous of some other woman's claim on this Thomas fellow, she could have been the one who cursed, or it could have been the other way around. Perhaps Thomas had some sort of society fiance who didn't like his association with Ingrid. It could be either one. So yes, I think we should. I do think we should go speak with Madame Lou and see what information we can get about Ingrid.
That seems like the logical lead we have here. I don't know what else we might be able to do, given the information otherwise, unless we want to try and chase after rats.
Now, you do have one other potential lead that came up in that letter.
You're talking about Father Ryder?
Yeah.
Oh, Father Ryder, yes.
Just to remind our listeners, the note that Sofie found said, "To my darling Thomas, I can hardly count the days until we are together again. I long to be in your arms, and the prospect of marriage has taken my breath away. I spoke to Father Ryder, and he has agreed to perform the ceremony, and while I haven't told Miss Graham yet, I'm sure I have her blessing. Faithfully yours, Anne Eric's daughter." And then Anne Eric's daughter is crossed out, and Anne Miller is written, and then Anne Miller is crossed out, and then Ingrid Miller is written, and then Ingrid Miller is crossed out, and then it says Anne is crossed out, and it just says fuck in all capital letters.
So I'm assuming the other assumption we might be able to make here is that Thomas's last name is Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And one other small detail from our previous episode: there is a church that is diagonally across the street from Madame Lou's.
Well, we can go talk to the father then.
Let's go do that.
All right, so you've got a lead to follow with Father Ryder. You also potentially could talk to Madame Lou for more information on Ingrid. And you can investigate the Church of Our Lady of Good Help across the road to see if they might have information. Which of those did you want to follow first? Also, did any of you want to have a little bit of a rest given the number of conditions you have accumulated?
If there's like no chance of us catching the rats, then yeah, I think we should probably just.
You don't think you're going to be able to at this point?
Downstairs and have a drink and chill for a minute and then move on.
Lucius would like to move forward, but seeing the state that his compatriots are in, a break might be warranted here to try and get everyone's head back straight.
How's Julian feeling?
He's been very quiet throughout all of this. I'd say content to let the others discuss what's going on, and really just kind of keeping to himself. And yeah, just not really participating in the discussion. If we are going to take some time, he'll follow along. He definitely understands that he is not in a good headspace. One thing he will do is, like, as soon as it's suggested, kind of be like, what? Huh? Oh, sure. But he's going to head down to the kitchen and just grab a small bag full of dry rice, if he can find that.
Absolutely. Feel free to add that to your inventory.
Okay.
All right, so the three of you, after Julian's quick detour into the sporting house's kitchen, and it's a pretty small kitchen, all things considered. Let's be fair, most people don't come here for food. So it is mostly for the staff. But you head out to the lavish bar. Chung-Hu is back there, still kind of puttering around a little bit, organizing, cleaning, fronting some bottles, checking some levels. Do you have everything you need?
Yeah.
I think, do you have any aquavit back there, Chung-Hu?
Actually we do. Not a common call for it here, but yeah, we get a few sailors in from Ballard, so we make sure to keep it in stock.
Doctor, I don't know if you need this as badly as Julie and I do, but yes, let's just have a drink. Julian, I can see that you are a bit stressed after what's happened. As am I. To be quite honest, the rats really fucking pissed me off, Julian. I'm so irritated. I hadn't even got to read those scrolls yet. Anyway, it's fine. And she's gonna take Julian's hand, and she's gonna try to do some not meditation, but calm, counting backwards from 10 and stuff that to bring people down, the stuff that people do with their kids to bring them down from a tantrum, focus on such and such, and we're gonna do that together.
Sort of mindfulness practices.
You start trying that with Julian, and his initial reactions to you are much like a child who's having a tantrum and is just like, what are you, Sofie, we don't have time for this. I'm fine. It's fine. And
drink the fucking aquavit, Julian.
Oh, he has. He definitely has drank. Yeah, I will. Give me some more.
Chung-Hu
but he's just a very kind of passive aggressive and sulky as you try to help him.
But Lucius will just sit there quietly and drink.
Probably
finish his drink. Yeah, he's not. Lucius would not feel comfortable enough, I guess, to intervene unless specifically asked to. So he's just going to let Sofie do her thing and try and calm down Julian, because the methods Lucius knows to try and get his head on straight are very different and not probably conducive for a healthy mindset.
Julian, do you know what will help? Smelling this ether-soaked rag. Time for an ether frolic. Fun fact, that was a thing during this time period.
That's not surprising at all.
All right, Phoenix, is Julian able to be calmed down during this?
It takes him a bit, but yeah, he's definitely shaken. He's not happy, but he will slowly come to mellow out and get a grip.
All right.
Maybe after I've had a chance to talk with Sofie and mellow out a little bit, Julian just goes into problem solver mode and is going to be speaking with Chung-Hu, finding the rice, and then also asking if, within the gardens, do we have a scythe here at Chung-Hu?
No. None here at the sporting house.
I need you to go out today when you can. Head to the hardware store. I need you to buy a steel scythe, at least one, maybe two. I want you to put them up over the doors above room 9. Go ahead and put one above Madame Lou's door as well, if you would.
We can do so on the inside of the room, correct? Where guests won't see?
Based on what I've learned from Sofie, do I think that is correct?
Could work. Sophie's knowledge didn't state whether it had to be on the inside or the outside of the door.
Okay. I think it'll be all right.
I'll see what I can arrange.
And so, yeah, just kind of chatting, planning, and trying to help do what I can
to keep the sporting house safe.
Secure the sporting house. Yeah, is if that could be used as my time of kind of a form of meditation.
Absolutely. All right, so both of you can clear 2 conditions.
And now we're only allowed to do that once per mystery? Okay.
So you can do a rest once per mystery, you can interact with a memento once per mystery, and then after that you need to start using inspiration to remove mental conditions and medicine to start removing physical conditions.
So now, okay. I guess we kind of need to retool this to say that Sofie was trying to calm Julian down, but really trying to teach him some, anger management methods, she ended up calming herself down too, and now she feels better. And then, Julian's like, okay, I'm gonna go.
Sure, Sofie. Sure, Sofie. Sure, Sofie. I'm glad we had this talk, Sofie.
It got him at least to a good enough spot where you felt like you were helping.
Yeah.
Glad we got all that exciting rules stuff sorted out. All right, so you have cured your conditions. It is a little bit later on in the day, so it's probably about 2 o'clock now, maybe pushing towards 3. But good news, you're in Seattle at the height of summer. So while it is getting a little hot and a little sweaty in the sporting house, it will not be full dark until at least 9. So you got a little bit of time before you need to start worrying about the mayor. Where do you guys want to head? Did you want to talk to Madame Lou? Did you want to head out and go to the church? Did you want to scour the deadline for rats?
We might as well go talk to Madame Lou on the way out and then go to see Father Ryder, right? Is that cool with you guys?
Yeah, I guess we can talk to Madame Lou to see what happened to Ingrid. And then, yeah, I think the church would be the next logical place to go. Talk to Father Ryder.
Sounds good. All right. You make your way into the back rooms with Madame Lou, who is still working on the books. Dove has fallen asleep in that cushy plush chair.
Oh, you have returned. Pardon me, I was just going through my notes. Is there something I can help you with?
We just wanted to know, if you could tell us a little bit about Ingrid and her departure from your employment. Do you know where she is now, or did she just disappear, or what happened?
She thinks about it for a few moments.
Ingrid. Oh, yeah! I remember Ingrid. Oh, but her real name is Anne. Anne Eriksdotter. She worked for me some time ago. I do remember that just before she left us, she seemed so happy. Happiest I had ever seen her. She glowed with it for weeks. But then she came to me in tears. She told me that she had to leave. Her aunt had taken ill, you see. Poor mouse. She was all alone during that time. I know that she had a man, one who she was rather sweet on, but things must have soured between them by then.
Yes, it seems from this note that we found in room number 9, it seems that this gentleman's name was Thomas, and that they actually intended on getting married. Do you have any inkling who that gentleman might be? It might give us a clue as to what's happening here. Another clue to follow.
Please, give me a moment.
She pages through some of her notebooks, which contain detailed records about everyone who visits the sporting house.
Of course.
And what their interests are.
Thomas was a man who I saw quite often in the sporting house. He would come back night after night, always asking for Ingrid or where's Anna. It was always her, for months. and I could tell that the poor girl was smitten with him. She never came to me about marriage, but the news that she was wanting to take his hand, well, I cannot say that I am surprised. Nor am I surprised that the love ended so poorly. Poor dear, she must have taken it hard, for she did not show up for many a day. And then, well, as I told you, she came to me and she told me that her aunt was in poor health and that she could be leaving the sporting house to care for her.
Is she able to describe Thomas to us?
Oh, definitely.
I remember that there was nothing truly remarkable about him. I can at least say that much. From what I can recall, his jaw was shaped rather like a block. Oh, and his ears stuck out far from the sides of his head. And his eyebrows were very bushy, like a rope. Forgive me, I do love to poke fun. But otherwise, I can tell you that he must have come from a family of good money, but with the fine way he was dressed whenever he came in.
Lucius would just ask Madame Lou, you said you think something soured. Was there a disturbance in the house when they came to visit each other, or is it more just he stopped coming around and then tragedy fell upon Anne?
I will be honest, I do not know for certain. I only had my suspicions as well as a few musings from the gossips. She had simply vanished and only returned to say that she would be leaving. I have not seen the poor mouse since.
Understood.
I think as this conversation continues, Julian is going to just kind of, he nods over to Madame Lou. You're in good hands. I'll be back. And he's just gonna walk out of the room. He is going to walk around to the other bedrooms, which I imagine are not in, like, are they vacant right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a few that the girls are using. Some of them do crash here from time to time.
Okay.
But for the most part, 90% of the bedrooms are vacant right now.
Okay, so he is going to go to them one by one, and just with that bag of rice, he is just going to take out a handful of rice out of every one of them, and just kind of sprinkle them near the
Sprinkle
bed.
a few grains here and there.
Yeah, and more than a few grains, like a small handful.
Okay.
And he'll do that. If he needs to go replenish the bag in the kitchen, he will do so. But he is just going to do that. If he runs into Changhu. In fact, he would make a point of seeking out Changhu.
He'll have to pass Changhu as he's leaving the Madame Lou's back rooms, and
Okay.
Changhu kind of gives him a quizzical look.
Just going to let him know. Don't let them move him. Don't let them sweep him up. They're there for a reason.
Julian, our guests are going to have questions about why there are random piles. Is that rice you're carrying?
Yes.
They are going to have questions about why there are random piles of rice in rooms.
Okay. And the problem here is?
Generally, when we have guests, we don't want them asking questions. We want them very distracted and happy and spending money.
I pull him in close, and
He's very used to Julian being very grabby.
You know as well as I do. My friends, the ladies, if they're doing their job even half as well as they normally do, no one's going to notice the rice.
Can you at least put it in like a corner of the room?
I will put it like underneath the bed slightly.
I think that'll be fine then.
All right.
I'll make sure to tell Madame Lou later.
You're a good man, but we already knew that.
I've got my moments.
Now go get those sides.
All right. Julian, you have warded all the rooms to the best of your ability. Where are y'all going to go? Oh, sorry. Madame Lou does have one other key piece of information for you. She has an address. She knows where Anne Eriksdotter was until at least recently to be found.
Oh.
In the rougher part of town, the further south you go from the deadline, the more and more wild Seattle gets. The further and further away from the respectable parts of town, the more you get into the seediest areas. And one of the seediest is the lava beds. This is where you find the cribs, the box theaters that are very disreputable. This is where Madame Myrtle operated.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say, it sounds familiar.
However, there is one particular spot down that way that is a well-known bastion of safety, and that is a hotel called Our House. That is a sort of central spot that numerous people live at and do long-term rentals, and that's where Anne was living.
Is it in the middle of the street?
It is not, shockingly.
I couldn't help myself. Sorry.
Well done. No. Well done.
10 out of 10. All right, so you have a couple of options ahead of you. You could head across the street to Our Lady of Good Help to see about finding Father Ryder. You could head downtown to see about heading to Our House. Or you could even try heading uptown if you wanted to search around and see if you could find the Millers up on Cap Hill.
I think we should go to the church first since it's closest, right?
It seems to make the most sense to me.
I kind of look over at the two of you and just kind of look over my shoulder back at the sporting house and whatever. Just, where are we going?
All right, sounds like to the church. The stately Church of Our Lady of Good Help is diagonally across the street from Madame Lou's. The doors are open and welcoming. The church looks a little plain in contrast to the gorgeous and slightly ostentatious building across the way from it, but there's a certain stately elegance to it. You head up the stairs, and inside is a very beautiful, well-appointed church. There are rows and rows and rows of benches. There's a confessional in the far back. There is a baptismal font up by the pulpit. And looking around, there are not too many people in at the moment. In fact, there's only one figure who is up by the front.
I've been talking too much this episode. I'm letting somebody else go.
Okay.
It's going to have to be Lucius because, Julian is
Nope.
pretty much just being led along right now.
I got it. Julius is not in a
Julian's still
good
pouting.
mind space.
Julian is not so much pouting as you look over. He does seem to be incredibly distracted. But, he's not up for doing a whole lot of talking today.
Lucius will kind of step forward and you said there was one person near the door.
Mm-hmm. One person further up in the church, much closer to the pulpit.
Does the person look to be like a priest or someone?
Yeah.
Okay. So after kind of taking a brief moment to pause at the kind of presumably center aisle, just out of reverence for being in a church, Lucius will kind of slowly move forward in more of a hushed tone as he can. Excuse me, would you happen to be Father Ryder, or would you happen to know if Father Ryder is around?
The man turns around from what he was doing. He is an old gentleman with very small wire rim glasses, white hair, and a fairly heavy-set face. He has a clerical collar and is wearing a black cassock. You're looking for Father Ryder? Let's see. I think he is still doing some work a bit south of here. My name is Father Francis Xavier Prefontaine. How can I help you?
Well, Father Prefontaine, we're looking for Father Ryder because he appears to have been one of the last people that we're seen of a couple of people we're looking for. And, Anne, Eric's daughter, and Thomas Miller. Apparently they had an arrangement with him for presumably a ceremony, and we would just like to ask him a few questions because we're trying to find the whereabouts of these individuals.
He seems to think about it for a minute, and he kind of leans his back against the pulpit. He reaches into the breast pocket of the cassock and pulls out a cigar, cuts off the end of it, and begins smoking as he thinks. Miller. I don't know an Ann, but I do know Thomas Miller. He's a clerk for the city. Used to see him quite frequently most evenings of the week. And he kind of looks over the three of your shoulders out the front door, where he has a perfectly clear line of sight to Madame Lou's. Came in a lot of nights after, well, let's just say he needed to speak to the Lord for reasons.
Unburden his soul, so to speak.
After unburdening his soul, so to speak.
Understood.
Now, his parents still come in pretty recently. I don't think I've seen Thomas for a good month or so.
Good, really? But his parents, you say, still show regularly? Do they?
Yeah.
They seem in good spirits, good health?
Yeah. His mother, Agatha Miller, is a force. Yeah, Thomas, haven't seen hide nor hair of that boy.
You had mentioned that you thought he was a clerk downtown. Do you happen to know for any particular firm or for the city?
For the city. The city.
Okay.
I can give you directions to his house if you want to check on him.
Oh, that would be very helpful indeed.
Of course. Now, as for Father Ryder, takes another long puff on his cigar. Well, he's doing what you could call missionary work down in the lava beds. Speaking to those who need speaking to, and listening to those who need listening to. He probably won't be back here until the Sabbath. But most nights, you can find him at a little hotel down there. Our house. There's a little island of stability in that sea of iniquity and sin.
Our house, okay.
Julian does roll his eyes at den of iniquity and sin.
And he grins at you around the cigar. He has a very roguish cast to his face.
Have I ever seen him in the sporting house?
You've never seen him in the sporting house. But you know more than a few people who spend a night at the sporting house and go straight across the street to the church to tell them all about how they aren't going to go back to the sporting house when they pretty much exactly are.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions that you have for Father Prefontaine?
I guess not off the top of my head.
I'll say that while Dr. Lucius was talking to the father, Sofie was just kind of meandering up and just sort of looking around the church and, casually, whatever. And as they're getting ready to leave, she will ask the father, did you know of any romantic involvements that Thomas may have had with perhaps another woman at the church or anyone else that's close to his family or anything like that?
No, nothing I'm aware of. I suspect that boy would have had any romantic partners picked out for him by his mother.
Ah, that's very interesting. Thank you. I want to talk to Lucius about something, but after we go get out of the church.
All right, and anything Lucius or Julian are doing before leaving?
No, he'll thank the father for his time.
Yeah, nothing from Julian either, I don't think. Actually, he will. Sorry, one thing he will ask. Just as we're getting ready to leave, I turn around. Father, I don't suppose you knew of Arthur Northrop, did you? Somebody come in often at all?
Northrop. Works for the bank, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
I've seen him a few times.
How would you describe him? Good guy?
Quiet. Very much a devout man. Very willing to confess sins.
Hmm.
And he kind of says quietly under his breath, very willing to sin across the street, too. And he takes another long puff at his cigar. Why ask?
No reason.
Fair enough. All right. And the three of you head out. Also, fun Seattle fact. Prefontaine Street is named after Father Francis Xavier Prefontaine.
Cool.
Which
Hey.
is one of our streets downtown.
You just gave that historical figure a cigar smoking habit. It's canon.
I accurately represented that historical figure's cigar smoking habit.
Very
He was
nice.
also known for heavy drinking and a fondness for purchasing land and speculation.
Hmm.
So, which direction are you heading? The classy side of uptown or the fun side of downtown?
So well, obviously we want to go to party in the back, but I
As opposed to business in the front.
right. I just wanted to mention to my friends here that something struck me about what Father Prefontaine said about Thomas Miller's family. So he said that his mother was a force, and he also said he got the impression that marriages would have been arranged for Thomas. So I wonder if that's a clue as to what happened. Perhaps even his mother is responsible for this, somehow trying to get rid of Anne's influence on her son so that he could make a proper marriage. Maybe she found out about what was going on and decided to put a stop to it.
I would suspect that you're onto something there. Like you, I kind of got the impression that from the letter, from Anne's letter, that things, at least in her perspective, weren't moving positively until, as Madame Lou informed us, one day they were not.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect, we'll probably need to find out more, but I want the more we can find out about the family ahead of time, I think it'll serve us better when we are actually able to talk to them.
That's fair.
I shake my head at the two of you. He's not fine. It's not going to be fine. Sofie, you were the one who told us, pursued till the end of his days. I think you're right. This is what the Mara do. If he broke his vow, if he backed out, he's in real trouble.
Can we get to our house not in the middle of our street and back to Capitol Hill in the same afternoon?
Mm-mm. No, it's going to probably take you into the evening to get to one of those locations.
So on the one hand, possibly protect Thomas Miller, assuming he's still alive, and find out what happened. On the other hand, Ingrid might be there at the hotel, and we might be able to head her off at the pass somehow.
Or we could split the party.
That's an option. I don't know that I would recommend it for this one. But y'all do what you want to do.
I I think you raise a good point, Sophie. I have suspicions that if Anne found out that she could not be with Thomas, maybe something drastic happened. Or I guess I don't know. I'm on the fence on if Anne might be the culprit here, or if it's maybe the spurned arranged marriage, the person with the arranged marriage, because it seems that the target is the
Thomas? No.
the sporting house. It seems the target. I mean, if it was Thomas that was the target, I feel like there'd be a call to go see what's happening with him or around his death. But this seems this seems targeted at the sporting house itself.
Well, so what I'm thinking is that if you imagine that Ingrid, or Anne, I should say, that Anne was in love with Thomas and they intended to get married, and then Thomas's family somehow found out about this, and in some way or other, this is obviously just conjecture, it's just one possibility out of many, but his mother somehow contrived to enact this curse upon Anne herself to turn her into the Mara. Then at night, when she becomes this Vasen, she might very likely go back to the place where she knew Thomas repeatedly to try to sort of force him to accept her and be in love with her again in this monstrous form, not being really aware of herself or knowing that it's not actually Thomas that's in the room, it's just some random person. You know, I mean, that's a thought of a possible scenario. I don't know.
But you would I don't know enough about this world to make, I guess, a proclamation one way or the other. I guess I would imagine vengeance would be struck upon the family house, not the sporting house. But
That's fair. Fair.
Again, I'm new to this world and I don't fully understand, I guess.
Now, just to jump in real quick, could I get a vigilance test from each of you?
Ah, shit.
I mean, you can.
Julian gets 1 success on 4 dice.
Hey, okay, I got 1 6. And I got another 6. Bitches! Okay, 2 successes out of 7 dice.
Also, Aaron, I do love when you roll physical dice because you were so excited about all the successes.
I'm very excited.
And it's finally started happening for Lucius. 0 successes out of 6 dice rolls.
Bill?
The fact that I got a 1 out of 1 earlier has meant that everyone else is going to be cursed for the rest of this episode.
I was going to say that 1 out of 1 was spectacular.
Bill, officially, welcome to the team.
Welcome to the team.
Now you belong here. With your 0 out of 6 dice. Alright, so Lucius is kind of spinning these theories, digging into some things, talking through some ideas. However, it takes him a beat when he realizes that Julie and Sofie are not paying attention to him. Because the two of them are looking down the street. And slowly, flowing up through the street is a thick bank of fog. This heavy, rolling mist that's coming up from the Puget Sound.
Well, that's not ominous.
And as it begins to kind of waft over you, you smell this foul, reeking odor of stale sweat and rotting teeth.
No!
I am going to reach into my bag of rice and just hold it in my hand, like hold a handful of rice in my hand.
The sun is still overhead, but you all know this kind of fog should be dissipating in this level of sunlight. And the fact that it's not is very strange. I'm going to let y'all in on some game stuff. Breathing in this miasma is difficult. And seeing any distance is hard. This is like pea soup kind of fog. Your visibility is going to be limited to about 30 feet. And all force and vigilance tests while you're in the fog will require one additional success.
While we're all clustered together, I will take that handful of rice that I've now got. I will turn to whoever is closest to me. I'll just start with Dr. Lucius and just thrust a handful of rice into his hand, and then repeat with Sofie, and again grab some for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, have we left the church?
You are standing out in front of it while you were plotting your next move. Also, Sofie, you got 2 successes on that roll. You notice something even stranger. This thick, soupy fog swirls and eddies down the street, kind of filling up around you. It doesn't enter buildings. The church doors are still open, and the fog is kind of like sifting outside of them. But it's not going into the building.
I think we should just back up and rejoin Father Prefontaine for a moment while we gauge what to do next, guys.
Go check on the father if you like. I'm heading back to the sporting house. And with that, Julian will just start walking towards the sporting house.
Well, one side of the street is as good as any other, I suppose.
Yeah, Lucius will turn to Sofie and be like, I think we should follow him.
Yes, I just meant we should not be standing in the street, was all.
Lucius and presumably Sofie will, I guess, follow after Julian.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There is a little bit of light on, which is visible through the leaded glass windows. As it's gotten a little bit darker out, the sporting house doors are easy enough to open. And sure enough, that fog doesn't kind of flow in after you. It seems to just eddy and kind of swirl outside of the doorway.
I'd like to run to a different window, like a window that faces a different part, not the street, and see if it's creeping in other places as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can one of you head up to room 9?
Not it.
I guess that's me.
Or you can stay here, I'll go.
The bar is currently unattended.
Based on Julian's body language, I'm assuming he has something else in mind. So Lucius will go up to room 9.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with Dr. Jensen.
And the pair of you get up there. Some of that stank has faded from the room. It's not quite as bad as it was before, although there's still a little bit of a lingering odor. But looking out that open window, you can see there's that sea of fog. And it's rising up around buildings all over the downtown. And it's definitely flowing in off of the sound.
I probably can't see from my vantage down at the front door, but attempting to look around, can I see if it is making its way into any building? Like, is there any place where it seems to be conspicuously, like...
No, it doesn't seem to be doing that yet. It all seems to be just hovering outside of buildings and kind of filling the street.
Yet, Brian?
What's up?
Why would you say yet?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Got to give myself something to escalate to.
Oh, no.
Did Sofie and Lucius see Julian placing the rice in all the rooms, or did Julian tell them that he was doing that?
Nope. You were talking about him, Lou, at the time.
And it's not something I would have thought to have shared with you. I mean, if you looked in, maybe you see it, but it's not something that I really told you guys about.
Well, I just don't know if I'd be looking for it at this point.
Yeah, no,
if I knew about it, I would be looking to make sure that they were still there if we could see them as we pass by the rooms. But if not, oh well.
All right, so what are y'all doing from Madame Lou's?
I'm just kind of tensed up. Again, I've got, I've got just my weapon of choice, a bunch of grains of rice, clutched as tight, my just white knuckling it on this bag of rice here. Really just looking for any signs of anything. that might be amiss and doing what I can to, protect the house.
Does the room 9 seem to be as we left it or last saw it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
More or less.
And the plan from Chonghu and from Madame Lu was just lock it up tonight, to not have anyone using that room.
Lucius will turn to Sofie. Do you want to go check on Julian? He doesn't seem to be his normal self. Something seems to be bothering him. I can keep a lookout here and certainly make a racket if something comes in.
Okay, I think perhaps you should shut the window. The rats left that way, and then the fog is outside. It might be best to seal it.
Okay.
Yes, I'll go check on Julian. When I go back downstairs from the front, kind of going back to the first thing I was saying, from the front of the house, are there windows that look out like onto the garden or any, just the...
No, they're all street facing.
Okay. So yeah, I'll just go downstairs and see if I can find Julian.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be hard to find. I'm right at the front door, kind of half in, half out. So the door is open. And I'm just kind of in the door frame there, one hand kind of holding onto it, the other stuck in a bag of rice. And I look very vigilant and as if I'm just looking for any signs of trouble, if there's going to be anything happening here.
And you are peering out into this fog, and your vision is so limited. At just about 30, 40 feet, it's so thick, you can only make out just indistinct shapes. You see some people who are out on the street who are moving around, and they are barely visible little shapes moving through this fog. And once they're past that 30 to 40 foot mark, they vanish.
Julian, what if this fog persists for the rest of the afternoon and the evening? What, are we just going to stay here and wait for it to... do you have a plan?
No, I don't have a plan. You're the learning one. I just know that fog doesn't do this.
Well, of course.
Nothing is happening to this place. I don't know what's going on.
Perhaps you should tell Chonghu and Madame Lu about the rice so that they can protect themselves. Or, some other article of distraction.
And you said we don't see Chonghu down here, correct?
Mm-mm.
That wouldn't in and of itself be unusual to me, would it?
You suspect he is at the hardware store.
Yeah, okay.
Probably grumbling that he doesn't take orders from you.
Hmm.
But probably still buying scythes, apparently.
And putting them above the door frames.
Mm-hmm.
As one does,
Yeah, I don't know anything more than you do. You're the one who told us about what we might be facing here. And now we have mist and that smell. I just don't want anything to happen here.
I suppose we should stay here for a bit to make sure that nothing's going to happen, but I don't feel like we're going to solve this and put an end to this by playing defense, if you will.
Okay. Tell me where to point our offense, and I'm happy to do it.
Well, that's a good question. We didn't quite decide, but I think our inclination was to try to find Father Ryder and find more information about Ingrid in hopes of somehow containing her, assuming we're correct and she is the Mata.
I will say, for Phoenix and for Julian as well, he does feel like he's done all he can to defend this place. Okay. The scattering of the rice, putting up the sides. In theory, if he wanted to try and go even a little bit further, he could snatch some of the hymnals from across the street and put like some cow hairs in them, which is another thing known to cause the Mara to kind of become distracted. But like, he has shored up the defenses pretty thoroughly here.
Yeah. So as Sofie is telling me to, we need to go do something, I just kind of slump a little bit, long exhale. Fine, let's go find her. And I take, the rice that has been just clutched very hard in my hand, and Chongu's gonna kill me. And I just throw it up in the middle of the room.
I also like the idea of like the two of you boldly marching out into the fog, and Lucy's like, "Guys, hello."
I was waiting for Julian to be like, "Okay, I'm leaving," and just leave, and then I have to like run up the stairs in my book skirts and get Father or Dr. Jensen, and then run back down and try to find Julian in the fucking fog.
Ooh, I like that plan. That'll go great.
No.
All right, so the three of you head out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing that Julian would want to discuss and kind of turn over as we're heading out to, I guess we're heading down to the lava pit.
Mm-hmm. Lava beds, yeah.
Lava beds, pardon me. I've been thinking about what you've told us about what we're up against, Sofie. So, if Ingrid if he broke his vow to Ingrid, whether or not it was something he ever meant to do in the first place, well, that would, if she's our mayor, I mean, that obviously gives her the motivation to try to track him down and pursue him. But mayors, who turned her into the mayor? Isn't that what we should be trying to figure out? Is who did this in the first place?
I think it was his mother. I think his mother turned her into the Mara in order to get her away from him. And the priest indicated that she had a very strong personality. So I wouldn't put it past her to have gone and sought the services of someone if she didn't know how to do it. A witch, perhaps.
Grimaces.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was just speaking with Mira Asketil the other day, but I didn't know to ask her about this, so I don't think it was her anyway. But all that aside, that seems the most likely culprit to me as the instigator.
Kind of grit my teeth and nod. Well, it's better than any idea that I've got.
So, as you are having this conversation, I'm assuming this is kind of a walk and talk. Yeah. Are you all headed uptown or downtown?
Well, I think the initial intent was downtown.
Mm-hmm. Are there any like cabs or anything, carriages out?
There are carriages available, but they are not operating right now in the fog.
Right, okay.
All right, so the three of you are making your way downtown, heading towards the hotel. Thank you. Towards our house in the middle of the street. Multiple musical cues. Bill has some fine dance moves. Audience, you're missing out. You're missing out. The three of you are traversing downtown Seattle through this thick, rolling fog. You barely can spot people moving here and there in it. Phoenix.
I do have a question. The stench of the rotting teeth, is that getting stronger, fainter, any change at all as we continue?
It sort of ebbs and flows as you move through the fog, where you catch like a really bad patch, and then it kind of eases a little bit. You get a little bit accustomed to it, it fades away, and then suddenly hits you all over again.
And I realize we can't see people real well in general. Mm-hmm. Do we have any sense, like, do other people seem to be even noticing that stench?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, there are people who are sick in the street. There are people who are, like, trying to run with their faces covered. Like, This stank is noticeable.
I feel like Seattle might be used to, at this period, the stank of ye old shit, but perhaps not rotting teeth.
And the stale sweat smell that's in there as well. Like, this is a almost physical hit you in the face kind of bad smell. Yortz is having a rough time.
Oh, buddy.
You're traveling through this thick sea of fog, barely able to see people ahead of you, trying to find this hotel that the three of you have never been to before. It is much further south than Julian tends to go, and it was not built back when Sofie was here.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. But I would be vaguely familiar with the area, maybe, but not the newer establishments.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a while, so there are some things that you know and some things that you don't. But similar to modern Seattle, there's a lot of business turnover here. Stuff comes up, stuff goes under. Stuff comes up, stuff goes under. So you've got kind of the vibe is the same, but a lot of the day-to-day places are different.
Right. Okay.
And you're asking people, you're getting some directions, because, again, we have no Google Maps. The only way to find a place that you don't know is to find somebody who does. So it's slow going. And slowly, surely, hour by hour, you hear church bells that keep ringing out as time is passing. And soon, there are 9 heavy, long, tolling bells that ring out. The only light in this fog is from the setting sun and the lamps and candles that have been set out in windows and hung outside of businesses. Let's be fair, most of them tinted very red where you are. And in the distance, as those fading notes ring out from the church bells, you hear hoofbeats of a horse racing and shrieking, coming in your direction. And a long, laughing cackle. But we'll get to what happens then next time.
God.
The Toothless Horseman!
Things will be great when we're down.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. Our theme song is Myths and Legends by Robert Bruckmeyer, which is playing right now. Our music is by Andreas Lundström, and you can hear more of his work on the Sweden Rolls podcast. Link in the show notes. Our editor is Hannah Cheney. If you're enjoying this show, please take 2 minutes to rate and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. I know every podcast says it, but it really does make a difference and helps us continue to grow the show. Finally, remember the motto of the library. Fear gives way to knowledge. Knowledge gives way to wisdom. And wisdom gives way to the truth. Until next time.